19-year-old Tomek, Olaf Lubashenko, is living in an apartment complex in Warsaw with his godmother, Stefania Iwinska, staying in her son's room while he's away. Raised in an orphanage, the shy Tomek has few friends and works as a postal clerk. Tomek has been spying on a beautiful older woman, Magda Grazina Sapolovska, who lives in an adjacent apartment complex. Using a telescope, he watches her every night performing mundane tasks, working on her artwork, and entertaining men. To get closer to her, he slips fake postal notices in her mailbox for a non-existent money order at his post office. He also calls her anonymously to hear her voice. Tomek's obsession is focused more on her everyday activities rather than her sex life. When he sees her becoming sexual with men, he trains the telescope away and does not watch. Tomek learns there is a problem with the milk deliveries for Magda's apartment complex. So he takes the delivery job to be closer to her. One night he sees her return home after breaking up with her latest boyfriend, spilling a bottle of milk, and then weeping over another failed relationship. Later, Tomek asks his godmother, "Why do people cry?" After receiving another fake postal notice, Magda has a confrontation with the postmistress who accuses her of extortion. When Magda walks away upset, Tomek follows her and admits that he has been leaving the fake postal notices, that he saw her crying, and that he's been watching her. That night, Magda arranges her bed so that Tomek can see her with another boyfriend. When they're in bed, she tells him that they're being watched by someone across the way. The boyfriend rushes down to the street, calls out to Tomek, who comes downstairs, and then punches him in the face for peeping. The next day, while delivering milk to Magda, Tomek admits that he loves her and that he expects nothing in return. Overwhelmed by his feelings, Tomek rushes up to the roof of the building, and then returns to Magda's apartment and asks her for a date. And she accepts. An elated Tomek races through the courtyard with his milk cart. During their date at a cafe, Magda learns that Tomek has been watching her for a year and that he stole letters mailed to her by an old boyfriend. At first, she's upset, but then she dismisses it, saying, "What does it matter?" In response to his earlier declaration of love, she tells him that love doesn't exist, only sex. She shows him how to caress her hands the way lovers do. Later that night at her apartment, after she showers and changes into a short bathrobe, he gives her a small gift, but she says she's not a good person and doesn't deserve gifts. Crouching in front of him, she guides his hands onto her thighs and he has an orgasm. Magda says, "Love. That's all it is." After Tomek rushes out of her apartment embarrassed and upset, Magda feels guilty and tries to communicate to him at her window, gesturing for him to call her and holding up a sign that reads, "Come back. Sorry." But there is no response. Back in his apartment, Tomek cuts his wrists with a razor blade. Later, Magda comes to Tomek's apartment to return the coat he left behind and learns from his godmother that he tried to kill himself and was taken to hospital. Magda tells her, "I think I hurt him." Tomek's godmother shows her Tomek's room and his telescope and tells her, "He's fallen in love with you." When asked if he's fallen for the wrong woman, Magda responds, "Yes." In the coming days, Magda is unable to find Tomek. She is clearly worried and concerned about his well-being. One night, she receives a phone call, and thinking it is Tomek, she acknowledges that he was right about love. The call is actually from someone with phone trouble. After days of waiting and watching Tomek's window with her small binoculars, she finally sees is returned. Magda goes to Tomek's apartment and his godmother shows her to his room where she sees Tomek sleeping, his wrists still bandaged. The godmother prevents her from getting too close to him, even preventing her from touching his bandaged wrist. Noticing the telescope, Magda looks through it toward her own apartment and imagines what Tomek must have seen that night. Watching her come home, spilling the milk, and weeping over another failed relationship. Then she closes her eyes and imagines Tomek in her apartment with her, reaching out to comfort her. And she smiles.